Greetings, real filmers. I'm here at the 2015 Washington Independent Film Festival, and I have here with me the filmmaker for the film Southeast 67, Miss Betsy Cox. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for talking to me.
No problem. So first off, I understand that this is the world premiere for the film. Can you talk a bit about what it was about the DC Independent Film Festival that allowed you to, or I should say, gave you the wanting you to choose that as your option versus a lot of the other DC festivals that we have?
Well, I mean, I have great respect for the DC Independent Film Festival, and they do a terrific job with it. I mean, case in point, there was such effort made to have the screening be part of the Southeast community, and so to find a theater, we're the only film in this venue, which is a terrific venue, and so accessible and $5 tickets. I mean, I really wanted it to be something that would be open to the community and as near to the community that it's about as it could be. Thankfully, when you get on the festival circuit, DC is one of the first ones, and we really wanted, if it shows nowhere else in the festival world, it needed to show in the District of Columbia. And how cool, to have somebody in the audience who, was at Kramer, and people that are from the neighborhood and that are, that were there and that lived it. I mean, that's what it needs to be. That's exactly where it needs to be rolled out. So I thought it was terrific.
Okay, great. Well, I didn't know too much about this story, so I'm curious to know how you came across, the story yourself, and how you were able to track down, all these folks that were, the initial, the original 67.
Well, I certainly wasn't the only person working on tracking them down. I mean, the 67 Dreamers, I mean, there were a lot of people behind this program. And the way it started was the Commonwealth Foundation, which was what Stuart Bainum created to run educational programs, and Stuart Bainum being the benefactor of this particular group. At the 20th anniversary of the Dreamers' graduation, which was 2014, they wanted to check in with the original group, just as a way of assessing what they did right, what they did not do well, what could have been improved, to inform their current programs moving forward. They're still doing this educational work, not in the form of an I Have a Dream class, but in terms of education for kids living in the inner city and in Montgomery County. So it was really lessons learned, and how do we apply that? And so no one knew what the story was. And I went out with my DSLR camera and my Zoom, and as soon as I started talking to the Dreamers, and they really worked, Steve Bumbaugh and Phyllis Rumbarger, who are the two educators, they've kept in touch with the Dreamers over the years. And of course, finally, when social media started, that connection really blossomed. I mean, there's a private Dreamers group, and I mean, it's like a family conversation on a daily basis. So they were the ones who reached out to them, and luckily the Dreamers, were willing to speak to me. And as soon as they started telling their stories, I realized it's a story that I don't think is hardly ever told, because here they are, adults. I mean, they're 38 years old now, and so many kids, and certainly it's true of them, they'll all tell you this, that growing up, and when they were in that situation, they would never have shared the details of their lives. Sure. And I think that's very true of any kid, sure, growing up, and true today. So I thought, wow, such value in just hearing the details of what their lives were like then. But now, 20 years later, for them to see over time and to really look at it with the wisdom of adults, to talk about how the program impacted them. And maybe, it wasn't what the program intended when it started out, which was this idea of college graduation. And that almost became secondary in my mind, because the impact on the program, I think when we look at these programs, it has to be an impact on a person's life, on every aspect of their life, how they view themselves, how they raise their kids, what they see as their potential, all of those things. And that impact was so evident. And I thought, wow, and when do we ever track kids 20 years later? I mean, hardly ever. So it really seemed like an incredibly valuable story to share.
All right, great. Well, with any documentary, there's so much footage that you capture, and I'm always curious to know, when you decide what part of the, what footage to keep and what to keep in the final cut. So with that being said, Was there any thought to possibly do another form of medium, maybe like a mini series where you were able to keep more footage, or was it always the intention to make it a documentary?
Well, it started out with the intention of doing an hour, and then it became a feature, and it could have been longer probably than this. And certainly there were so many. It was so difficult to even choose the dreamers who we would really feature. I mean, there's three main storylines in this, and there's so many more that. I mean, so many more that should be told. I mean, I would love to see it spin off into a series. And, of course, that takes interest and money and all of those things. One of the immediate things that I hope to see happen, because so many film websites are really just about the basics, the trailer, the production team, and all of that. And what we're trying to do with the southeast67.com website is to provide more information than that. So there's oral histories with 12 of the dreamers, with the two educators. So you hear from more of them. And what I hope to do is add clips from those who we featured in the film and the cameos. I mean, there's so many terrific stories, terrific inspiring, terrific awing and humbling, that I think should be shared, and I'd love to do that through unedited clips on there. So we do hope to do that. But if anyone's interested in making it into a series, I'm available to chat.
All right. So aside, with this film, again, we were discussing earlier, this is the world premiere. So with, your attentions with this film and its journey, of course, within, the festival circuit, what's something that you would like to see, in a perfect world, what's something that you would like to see, happen with this film's journey?
Well, I think it's twofold, because I think where the film will ultimately have its strongest life, and where it probably should have its strongest life, is to be seen by those who will be working in communities like Anacostia, and to be seen by kids who are maybe in that situation, to realize that they're not alone, that there are people to reach out to and all of that. So I think on that level is where it will ultimately, I feel, have its true success. And that's through, I'm hoping to partner with, reform movements like Teach for America, to have it shown, in schools of education before people do their student teaching. I'd love to see it be part of professional development for teachers in large urban districts. My husband is a teacher, and his, even seeing it, I know has already informed his teaching. And I think it can have an impact on just how you approach your classes. What the dreamers, were saying in the Q&A, which was come to it with authenticity, with truth, with candor, patience. And so that's where I think it is now. It would be lovely to be in other festivals, because I think hearing personal stories like those featured in the film can have a big impact on all of us in looking not at communities that are dealing with these issues in broad strokes, but seeing the nuance and recognizing what the issues are, who the people, understanding as soon as you put a face and a story to somebody, you can really look at things with so much more intelligence and candor and nuance that's really needed in any issue. So I would like to see, that's what I'm hoping out of the festival circuit, is just to maybe make people stop and think. And I think all of us, in terms of education reform, need to be part of the dialogue. They're big questions, and there's no easy answer. It's not going to happen overnight. But looking for the quick fix, we know doesn't work. And, we're trying that, and it's not working. No. So I think that if anything, maybe this story shows you that, the quick fix isn't the right solution. And while, there's a role for test scores, and we certainly want to see graduation rates improve, it's not the end all in defining what success is for kids.
All right. So lastly, you have this film now that you're, seeing out into the world, so to speak. Do you picture that you're going to have another documentary that you're currently working on, or is this?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. I don't have a current project. I have lived and breathed this for 2 years, and I'm still living and breathing it every single day, because I don't think my job is really done until we've set it up in a way that it can have outreach. But I will need to be thinking about my next project really soon.
Okay.
And these issues are what I really care passionately about. I mean, I've always focused on social issues, but specifically dealing with issues surrounding poverty and all that means, and also, you know, domestic violence and family violence, and education and the implications of that in healthcare. I mean, those are the things that I care about. So I hope that my next project will mean as much to me as this one, but right now it seems tough. I mean, the Dreamers are dear friends to me now, and they've changed my life.
Okay, awesome. Well, Betsy, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. All right, there you have it, Real Filmers. Again, I'm at the 2015 Washington Independent Film Festival. I'm here with Betsy Cox, the director of Southeast 67. I'll see you soon.